the before the time starts, and it should be continuous and perpetual all the way to the end. Then we went through the things that actually make the fast voyage, and we went through 9 of those things, and we said that 8 are muttafaq alayh. Usually, scholars have the contemporary scholars have no difference of opinion regarding that. But there's only one thing which scholars do differ, and that thing is that immersing oneself in the water. So as for Ayatullah Sistani, it is really, really disliked, but still it won't break the fast. But for the other scholars, it would. Then we went through what do we mean by eating and drinking? Can we brush our teeth or not? We said that we can, and then we went through miscellaneous rules that usually come in our mind. Something if something is yeah, if something is stick between our teeth, and if it goes into our stomach, if you swallow it, etc. We went through it. And then we went through the rulings of ascribing false things to holy personalities. We went through that. Usually, it is haram for us to attribute anything which is not proven to any of the person living here. We can attribute anything wrong to any human being, but specifically, it gets really problematic when it is attributed to Prophet, Allah Almighty, or Aimma alayhi salam. And then it goes further problematic if you do it during the time of Ramadan, during when you're fasting. When you are fasting and when you do that, then it not only becomes a sin, which is also in other conditions too, but on top of it, it also breaks your fast. It also makes it null and void. Then we went through the ruling of traveling. There was a question that was brought in, and inshallah, I would like to address this question regarding, and if we keep this thing in our mind, I would like to Google it out to now in front of you all, which is the question was about specifically about the traveling and people that are living here in GTA. For them, it was an important question that what do we mean by traveling and what is hadde tarakhus? Hadde tarakhus was a question that we stumble upon. Sometimes it is difficult for us to give a very precise translation. I think this was a question that was asked to me by a brother. So I would like to elaborate on it, and inshallah, then we will be entering into main discussion of today. The question was there, what do we mean by hadde tarakhus? Now, hadde tarakhus, simply putting in a really simple language, is uh, the limit from where you are not able to see the city and its buildings and the people and the houses when you go through a certain distance and you can't see them. This is called hadd tarakhus, right? Had means limit, tarakhus means something that becomes allowed or that becomes permissible when you pass that limit. So that is the literal translation for that. In old days, there used to be cities used to be like within a defined circle, a defined like there would always be a gate to enter the city, and there were different gates through which people could enter the city. So in old days, it was an easy thing to counter and to see what exactly Hadith al-Khus meant. But now, since we have different structure and different ways in the cities are built, so I think the easier way I would say clearly is that just to be on safe side, especially you have highways and stuff, that if you go through 22 kilometers one way, so I think that should be good enough. If you go through 22 kilometers from where the city ends, remember the thing, that 23 kilometers you won't be counting from the place where you are living. As per Ayatullah Sistani, the 22 kilometers one way, remember one way. Two ways, it will be 44 kilometers. But one way, it should be 22 kilometers, right? Um, that one way should be the point where the boundaries of the city end, right? So let's say GTA here, right? Greater Toronto area. That's our case that we would be studying in. Now, I'm into the map of it, and there are different regions that are called as GTA. City of Toronto, Vaughan, Markham, Brampton, Mississauga, all of it is part of Greater Toronto Area. The boundary of it through the west region is Milton and Burlington, like roughly around Milton, Burlington area. If you go further east, is Durham region, right? So Oshawa and Pickering, Ajax. So when you pass that area, and if you go further north, it's around the Peel region. It's around Caledon or city of Vaughan. If you go further north, and these are the limits if you go further north. So see that you have the defined boundaries from where you would be calculating the distance. Let's suppose if I'm in Hamilton, if I'm going further west, or I'm at St.
Brother
Catherine.
Jerry,
Yeah,
I just need to interrupt you for one quick second here. So, if I just want to just mention that Maulana Rizvi basically he has created a tool to calculate that Hadd Tarafus, and it is a
very
very
nice.
interactive tool. I can just share my screen quickly,
Yeah,
and I have,
please, if you
yeah,
can. I
I have,
think that would be good. That would be
that is
really
like
good.
a very excellent tool. So I'll just share my screen quickly. Okay, so if yeah, you must be able to see my screen. So this is the website, and I have
So nice.
sent I have sent the link of this website on the Telegram group. So this
Very
the
nice.
Maulana Rizvi has created this tool. So all you need to do is you go enter your destination, origin and destination, and it will draw this kind of a red boundary. So if you are within this red boundary, that means you are within that Hadda Tarafus. If you are outside this red boundary, and it is from each side, east, west, north, south.
Very
It's a
nice.
very
Thank you very much.
interactive tool. So you just don't have to, think about the kilometers and all that. You just enter your destination here, and this will tell you if you are actually exceeding that limit or you are not.
Thank you so much for your input. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, inshallah, everyone, if they can look into the specific application that Brother Raza is talking about, and if you can download that or if you can access it, inshallah, so there shouldn't be any problem, inshallah. But generally speaking, let's suppose if someone is going all the way to London in the west, right? Or all the way to, let's suppose he's going to Windsor, further west, right? There when you go, so if everything is qasr there, you can fast if you're living there for less than 10 days. If you're going further east, if you're going all the way to Kingston, so same thing and same ruling would be applied. Let's suppose if you're going further north, really north, and if you're going, let's suppose Tobermory, right, all the way to north, right, same ruling would apply. Or if you're going west towards the U.S. border, then if you're going all the way to Niagara, this ruling would apply. So these are some of the things. So here, the important thing is to know the ruling. What would be the application for the ruling? I think we already have the app and things that we can look. And this could be applied not only for Toronto, this could be applied for Calgary, this could be applied for Tanzania, like people coming from like Dar es Salaam, if they're here, people from Karachi, people from New York, different other states and different other cities. All of them can apply this tool, and they just need to Google out the boundaries, right? Once they get the boundary, all the way from there, from the boundary where it ends, all the way to the place you're going. They just have to see if the kilometers that were mentioned are there one way. So one way is 22 and two ways would be 44 kilometers, right? So here, this was the ruling for the traveling, and I hope so, inshallah, this will be really clear. And I'm sorry I have to go through it again because I was getting question. It was just a little difficult for our people to understand what was Hadd Taraffus. But inshallah, I hope so. This will be really clear. And inshallah, this ruling will be helping you a lot in case if you're going for, let's suppose, right now because of COVID, we can't go a lot of places. But let's suppose people are going for camping, people are going for picnic and different other places outside the city. They would always have this chart, or they would always have something as a ruling that they can see, inshallah. And remember, one thing that was mentioned in quiz, and we should always remember in our mind, is that um, the traveling should be for the halal purpose. That can never be for haram purpose. And also, someone is not supposed to be kathir al-safar. Kathir al-safar is someone travels a lot. Now going into the ruling again. Now this time we would be going through people that don't have to fast, right? That fasting is not wajib upon them. Um, one ruling I think was left, and I think we already covered, was that the 10 days ruling is always something that we need to keep in our mind. Now, there are further complications to it. Let's suppose if I'm not sure whether I'll be staying for 10 days or not, at that time, I need to practice. Um, I need to practice the people, like I need to consider myself as traveler. So I'm confused whether I'll be staying for 10 days here or whether I might be able to do work before that. So during that time period, I would be thinking myself and taking myself as traveler, as per Ayatullah Sistani. So you would do that, you would do that, you would do that until you have passed 30 days, right? So if someone is mutaraddid, if someone is confused and is not able to decide how many days is he staying in the city, he has to treat himself as traveler till he passed 30 days within that city, right? But I hope so. Usually we don't encounter that situation. So one thing we need to keep in our mind is that we do have a hometown. For hometown, even if you're coming for less than 10 days, right? Let's suppose Toronto is my city and I'm going to Calgary, and then from Calgary I come here and I'll be staying here only for 3 days. Since I'm in my hometown and this is my watan or hometown is a place where I have to treat myself as non-traveler, as someone that has to look into the rulings of a person that would be just observing a normal life. Okay. This ends our ruling for traveling, inshallah. And now we go into the next slide, which is about the people that don't have to fast, right? We were discussing about, we are looking into some of the categories here. The first group of people are old people. Now, old people usually don't have the capacity. Now, old people, how would you define that? Usually, if someone can't fast, simple as that, right? Someone who has passed over the age of, let's suppose, 65, 70 years, 80 years, and they have to take medicine and they can't, not eat or not drink for so long. So for them, they don't have to fast, right? But if they are not fasting, they have to give one mud of food every day. Now, what constitute as one mud of food? So generally speaking, it's roughly around 750 grams. 750 grams of wheat, barley, bread, or dates, something which is used commonly as a food. If something is used commonly as a food, then that thing has to be given to a faqih. How would you define a faqih? Now, this is a question that comes in. And I'm sorry if I have to go into so much details, because we need to keep in our mind this is one of the most difficult rulings of, not one of the most difficult, but one of the masala that people do a lot of mistakes into. Faqir is a person, um, especially people coming from Eastern society, they know there are old people and they're like people that are on different intersections and different other places that are asking for food, they're asking for money. And we call them faqir like that. But now, I think there's some background voice coming in. Someone has their mic open. I'm not sure if they can turn off their mic, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So fakir is said to be a person in our society, if someone who is a homeless person. Let's suppose in Toronto, if I'm taking an exit, generally you would see homeless people, asking for money. Would they be called fakir? Yeah, probably they can call be fakir in linguistic way. But what do we mean by fakir when we talk in fiqh? Faqir is a person in fiqh, anyone who has their expenses for the whole year more than the income they earn. Simple as that. They might have a car. They might have like they're not living a luxury life, just the social status they have to maintain, they are maintaining it, and they are not going over their social status. Even then, they are not able to meet their expenses for the year. Like usually their income is like 50,000 and their expenses are 60,000. So that person is called technically as faqih in fiqh. If your expenses are more than your income, given in a social society and social status you're living at, like you don't have to be living in a really poor condition or like in one of the most difficult suburbs you're living in. No, you don't have to. You can be living in a normal situation with a normal home, a car, and maybe a, a, a good way of living, not a luxury way, but just a normal way of living. And in spite of it, you might be a faqir. So that person is called faqir, right? Um, in fiqh, one thing we need to consider is that faqir needs to be a person that is religious. Religious in a way, when I'm talking about the charity that you have to give for your fasting, if someone is missing their fasting, then when they are giving to a faqir, there are some criterions for those for that specific faqir. Like you can give to anyone that you want. He needs to be a Shia, firstly. Like he needs to believe in Aima Ithna Ashar. He needs to believe in Tawheed, Nabuwa, and a Shia, like a proper Shia like we are. Second condition is he needs to be a faqir, and I define faqir whose expenses are more than their income. Thirdly, they should not do sins openly. What do we mean by here is that let's suppose there's a sister that needs money and she's a faqir Jew, she is Shia, but she doesn't observe hijab. So here we can give the Ramadan. Look, what I'm focusing here is the kafara or the thing you need to give to for your fasting purpose or for your zakat or for your homes. The Islamic charity that is obligatory on you, those kind of charity you have to give to someone that Sharia or the fiqh has described specifically. But for the other charity that you're giving, you can give it to anyone. You can even give it to a non-Muslim. You can give it to non-Shia, to any other charity cause. But if you're giving homes, if you're giving zakat, if you're giving like kafara, if you're giving like a mud of food or etc., so Sharia has a prescribed group of people that you can give. So the fourth condition is they should not do the sins openly. If a woman is not observing her hijab properly, so she is said to be doing sin openly because she knows the masala, but she is, she doesn't observe the hijab, or if she observes the hijab, she does a lot of makeup. Likewise, it goes for men too. The person is not keeping the beard properly. He is like, trimming the beard in a way that there's no beard left on his face, or like he's cursing openly, or he's doing something which is open, any sin that he's doing openly, and people can see that. So that person cannot be given this food too. Final condition is that person shouldn't be missing the salat or the prayers deliberately. He should be observing all the prayers and everything as best as he can. Look, we sometimes we tend to miss Fajr prayers, or sometimes we're not able to wake up. That's completely fine, right? You can ask for forgiveness, and that shouldn't be a problem. But if I'm missing it deliberately or intentionally, that's a problem then, right? So again, so these are some of the conditions of faqir, and I'm sorry that I didn't mention that in the slide, but you have to keep it in your mind, inshallah. When you're going through the lecture again, or when you're watching it again, or when you're searching this topic, I hope so that all those points that I have mentioned, you would keep in your mind. Second person is someone who can bear thirst. Now, this is a really practical issue that we are being confronted with, especially people living in the West. So let's suppose our fasting would start a few years back, let's suppose 3-4 years back, our fasting would start around what time? Would start really early in the morning, 3:30 or 4 in the morning. And it would end around 9:15-ish, 9:20-ish, all the way at the night. And then on top of it, it used to be really hot days. It used to be proper summer. So people would do jobs, obviously. Some of them obviously have the luxury to sit in the office and do the job, but some of us, we don't have the luxury to do a white collar job. We might be working in grocery stores. Some of them even might be working in, let's suppose, in factories where they have to do really hard labor. So if they have to do really hard labors, they're working in the factory and they have to work really hard. And for them, it is impossible to go through the whole day without drinking the water. So in that case, those people can also be termed as people that can bear thirst in that given circumstances. Remember, this is a subjective thing. Some people absolutely can bear thirst for like more than an hour or two. So obviously they are applicable to this masala too. But in our current scenarios, people that are doing long hours of their job, and for them it is difficult for them to leave job. Really impossible, next to impossible, because if they would leave the job, who would take care of the family? Who would take care of the food, etc.? So for those people, if they are being confronted with this situation, they can barely drink enough water that can, make them working till they end the day. For those people, like those that can bear the thirst, they can just drink beer water, bare minimum water you can drink, and then when you drink it, that bare minimum water, you also have to give one mode of food. And for the people, for our given circumstances, like people that are working in offices with long hours or in factories, etc., they have to refrain from all other things. So they can't do any of the other things. And, and all those 8 or 9 things were mentioned. They can't do any more things. They can't even drink more, and they can't eat, right? They can just drink enough water. So once they drink enough water, they have to do qada. And after the qada, usually what would you do? So when the month of Ramadan has ended and the winter has come in, so during the winter or during the weekends, they can just keep the fast properly or do the qada. And also they have to give one mud of food, right? This is specifically for someone who can bear thirst, right? Um, what is the third person? So let's go into the next slide and see the list of the people. So the third group of people that are exempted from it are women that are, you know, in advanced level of pregnancy. And I think those are some of the rulings, inshallah, that are there in bigger books. So we would just leave it for now, inshallah. But if you go through it, so it is not only limited to these two group of people. So someone who is going through other things too. So you can go into it. Now, what is the ruling of someone breaking the fast intentionally? Look, this is the thing that we need to keep in our mind. Intentional is a thing that you do it deliberately, right? If someone does it by mistake, that's fine. If someone didn't remember it, that's fine. If someone thought bil yaqeen that this is the time, like by 100% he was sure that this is the time for opening the fast, and he did it, and it turns out it wasn't. So still, he might have to do the qada, but he's not supposed to give kafara, right? So the thing that we're mentioning here is that people that are breaking the fast intentionally, when is the kafara due on them? So we remember I told you sometimes you have to do the qada only, and sometimes you have to give kafara. Can you go to the slide before, please? This is the last slide, so if you can go to, yeah. When do we have to give kafara and we have to do the qada fast too? Both of them. When is it to be done? Now there are three kinds of kafara before I explain. So when someone encounters someone that he does it and he has to give the kafara, there are three things you can do. The fuqaha has given the choice that you can do either one of it. Either you free a slave, which is really difficult in this present circumstances. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, we don't have any more slavery now. So slavery is abolished completely, 100%, I would say. So this thing usually goes out of the equation. What is the second thing? That you might or you have to feed poor people and give them 1 month of food for 60 to 60 people, right? That's the second thing someone can do. Or the third thing they have to do is to fast for 2 months consecutively. So the way they would be fasting is that they would be fasting for 31 days consecutively, and then they would be fasting for the next 29 days, right? And if someone can do all those three things, then they have to give sadaqah, right? So sadaqah is the thing that you would be giving, that if you can do all of it. Now there's a hadith that I would like to mention, and inshallah that can connect to us, is that the hadith is mentioned by Shaykh Al-Husaini in Kitab Al-Kafi. In Kitab Al-Kafi, it's quoted by Imam Sadiq. He says, في رجل أفطر من شهر رمضان متعمدا يوم واحد من غير عذر. If someone deliberately breaks the fast without any religious justification in the month of Ramadan, what should he do? So Imam said that he must free a slave, أو يصوم شهرين متتابعين, or fast 2 months consecutively, like not like 60 days consecutively, but for the first 31 days consecutively. Then he can take a break, and then he has to do it like next 29 days consecutively. فإن لم يقدر تصدق بما يطيق. If he can do that, then he can give a charity as best as he can. So here you say that whatever the fuqaha has said, even Imam Sadiq is reported to have said this. What are the things that would make both fast, like the qada of it, wajib, and also the kafara? Those are the 5 things that you can go through in the slides, inshallah. But on top of it, which is really connected to us, is eating and drinking. Eating and drinking is the most common examples that would come in. If someone does it deliberately, they have to keep a fast at the qada, and also they have to give kafara. And rest of the things, you can just go through the slides and skim through it, inshallah.
Brother Jarry, we have few questions here. Can you hear me?
Inshallah. Thank you so much. Can we go through the question? I'm really sorry that I was going through it consecutively. I wasn't able to take the questions. Yeah, please go through it.
So the first question was from the previous slide where you were explaining the rulings for to give the sadaqah and all.
Can you go through the questions, please?
Yeah, can you hear me? The question I have is, how do I know if someone is deliberately missing salat?
I can't hear your voice.
Okay. Okay, can you hear now? Hello? Hello? Okay,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there might be some internet issue with me or with you, probably. I don't know. But can you repeat the question again? Like, your voice was breaking, please.
Okay, so the question was, how can I know if someone is deliberately missing salat? It is like for the previously you were explaining the rulings, whom to give the sadaqah and all that.
That's an excellent question. So usually you would take the, as a person, as a Shia, if we just have to have this knowledge that he is a upright Shia, that should be fine. We don't have to investigate a lot. But for some people, we know that they miss salat. Let's suppose someone is one of our friend, is one of our relative, and we know them personally. If we know them that they are missing the namaz, or if they're missing their prayers, then we can give them this the mode of food that was mentioned. Okay, this is only if you have the knowledge. You don't have to investigate a lot. Just have to, if you have a knowledge of them not praying, then you can give them.
Okay. The next question is, do you need to give a mode of food to one person or 60 persons?
Okay, that's an amazing question again. So for one person, if look, for kafara, you have to give it to 60 people. But for the people that can keep the fast, let's suppose old person or someone who can bear thirst, they just have to give it to one person. They don't have to give to 60.
Okay, Jazakallah. So that's all for now. You can continue, please.
That's right. And I'm really sorry. So if someone has a question, they can always contact our administration, or just pause me, because sometimes when I'm going through, it's really difficult for me to keep track. But inshallah, just pause me. And Brother Raza, I would request you to, during the conversation or when I'm going through one slide to another, you can just pause me and you can ask me the question. And I'm glad that you did now.
Sure.
So finally, we come to the rules for the qada fast. Now, there's an important and really interesting issue, and it's one of the most important thing that we tend to miss a lot, and what it is. So usually, the elder son has to go through the prayers and the fast that his father has missed in his life. Right? Now, there are more details and descriptions within it. See, when I'm telling you one masala, it doesn't mean it's really simple sometimes. There are more details in it, but generally, if let's suppose someone, my father was not able to keep fast for like 3 months or 4 months, 4 years, 3 years or 4 years for whatever reason, and God forbid, he passed away. So now I have to keep the qada of it in my life. It is as wajib upon me as I have to go through my own qada fastings. Or if I have to do, I have to go through my own qaza prayers. Same issue is applied for prayers too. A lot of people, their parent, or especially their dad, this rule is applicable specifically for dad or for father. If father was missing in for like 5 years, they were not able to pray properly. Let's suppose they were oblivious, or let's suppose they didn't know the masala, for whatever reason they were not able to. So I have to keep the qada prayers, and it's wajib upon me to do that 5 years of prayers. What I can do, I can either go and contact someone, let them know that look, I have 5 years of prayers that my father missed, and I want you to go through it, and I can pay them some stuff, right? Pay whatever it's supposed to be. And same goes for fasting too. If I can keep it, then I have to hire someone that can keep the fast that my father missed, and I have to do a transaction with that specific person. What about mother? Let's suppose if mother passed away, does her son needs to keep the fasting and prayers like this? So al-fuqha generally, like including Ayatullah Sistani, they don't say it's wajib. They don't say it's wajib to do so. If someone does it, it is really, really good action, and they should do it. And I mean, like, it's not only issue of wajib or mustahab. It's the issue of your love that you have for your mom and dad. It goes further than fiqh. But let's suppose, talking strictly in fiqh terms, you don't have to do it for your mom. But there are fuqaha in our history, and if I remember it properly or correctly, there used to be a scholar called, his name was Ayatullah Muhammad Rada Gulpaigani. Ayatullah Muhammad Rada Gulpaigani, I think, used to stipulate about on elder son to keep fasting and the prayers for mom too, for mother too. But inshallah, I'll double check it. But we do have some of the fuqaha in our history that said it. What about the other son? Is it wajib upon them if their elder son is not doing it? So the answer is no. It is not wajib upon them to keep the fast or to uh, uh, go through the prayers that their father missed if the elder son is not doing it. But generally speaking, as a matter of love and the affection you have for your parent, it doesn't matter if the elder brother does it or not. If a younger brother has the ability to do so, he should come forward and do that. And likewise for your mom too, and including your brothers and sibling. God forbid if someone has passed away, um, it is really good for us to keep whatever they miss, so that in order when we meet them in hereafter, they will be really happy with us, obviously, because it's a matter of our love for them. And secondly, Allah will be really happy for us too, because someone is doing something because it is wajib upon him to do. This is a act of worship too. But if someone does something, even though it's not wajib upon him, but he does it out of his love for Allah and that person, then it is something which is more praiseworthy than someone doing because he has to do it, right? That just shows your love and affection that you have for your relative and also for Allah Almighty, because you're doing everything for the sake of Allah, right? What is a
We have
person who, yeah,
we
yeah,
have a
please go
question
ahead.
here. It's an interesting question. What if the older son passes away? So does the responsibility get transferred to the second eldest?
If look, if the older son passed away after the death of the father, then I think so. I will double check, but I'm pretty sure that he doesn't have to. The other son who's next in line doesn't have to do that. But if the elder son passed away during the lifetime, then inshallah, just keep this question for the next week, or for inshallah, if I can find that within the time the quiz is taken. And inshallah, I'll try to find this and I'll get back to you. It's really a good question, but I don't know the answer right now.
Okay,
Inshallah, I'll go through it. Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So is there any, yeah. So the second ruling comes in for the person who delays fasting for over a year. Now, this is really common for some of the people that miss fast and they don't keep the qada for the whole year. And the next month of Ramadan comes in, and they have like 2 or 3 fasts that they have to go through. So for those kind of people, they have to give one mud of food again to the poor people, to faqih. And they also have to keep the qada fast too, right? So they have to do 2 things. One, they already have to do the qada fast, and then there is the penalty or the kafara for them not keeping the fast within the year. They delayed it for the whole year, and the next Ramadan came in. So after the Ramadan, when they will be doing the qada, they have to give kafara too. And what would be the kafara? Simple, one mud of food, 750 grams of food to a faqih, to one faqih, not 60 faqih. Now imagine, now this is an interesting question that would come in. It's a mathematical question that comes in. Imagine that person didn't keep the fast for another year now, right? So we already know the masla for 1 year he didn't keep. Now he didn't keep it for the next year. Does he have to give 2 kafaras now because he didn't keep the fast for another year, right? Keeping the qada is musallam. He has to do it. But what about him not keeping for another year now? Does he have to give kafara? The question is no. Kafara is only wajib once. Now, even if you're not doing it for 15 years, for 20 years, it doesn't mean that 15, 20 kafara will be coming in if you're delaying it for 15, 20 years. The kafara of not fasting for the whole year just comes once. Even if you delay it for 15, 20 years, it's still you just have to give one kafara. That's it. And it is really common for the people because sometimes, alhamdulillah, you lot, mashallah, are coming and learning fiqh. But a lot of our people that we know, they don't keep the fasting properly. And like usually when they are young, they're taking it light till they come to know the masala. So now they have like fasting that they haven't kept for like 5 years. And all those fasting, they do the qada, but they have to give kafara for not fasting for the whole year too, right? So when you're telling them the masla, you have to tell them, look, you have to give you have to keep the fast that you missed. Also, you need to give kafara for the whole time period that you didn't keep for the whole year. For every fast, you have to give one kafara, which is one mud of food to the poor person. And
Brother,
finally,
we have
yeah, yeah,
like
please.
few questions here, so I'll just go one by one. So the
Yeah.
first question is, what if the family does not have a male member? Does the daughter have to keep the qaza fast for the dad?
It is really like some of our fuqaha in the past, they said it is wajib upon elder woman too, or elder daughter too. But the present fuqaha like Ayatullah Sistani, they don't say it wajib. It is not wajib, but it's always good for her to do.
Okay. The next question is, for those people who cannot fast and they have to give fidya instead of food, what if the person himself is a fakir? Is there something alternate they have to do?
It's a good question, inshallah. If someone is a faqir, then the taklif is then they don't have to give it when they are faqir, right? Till the time they are faqir, they don't have to give it until they pass through that time of when they become rich again. Or when I say rich here, we don't mean rich in absolute term, rich in a way that they're not faqir anymore. So whatever time they become rich again or the normal person again, then they have to give the kafara that is due on them. But if someone remains faqir for the whole life, that's another question I don't know the answer for. And inshallah, if you can let me search it further, and I'll try to get back, inshallah.
Okay. The final question here is, if I missed a few fasts in year number one, I did not do any qaza until the next year, and I missed few more fasts in year number two. So do I have to give kafara for year number one missed fast plus the year number two missed fast?
No, only year number one. So what we're talking about is that if you don't do it for the whole year, so if someone didn't do for the whole year and the next year they missed again 3 or 4, but within the year they completed that 3 or 4 fasting that was supposed the qada, they did the qada within the same year, then they only have to give for the first year only, not for the second one.
No, no. So they did not do the qaza in the first year. So the first year they missed three fasts. They did not do
So
any qaza. The second year again they missed 3, 4 fasts. They did not do any qaza for the second year as well. So now
so
in
they
the
have to,
third
yeah,
year they need to give kafara for 6 fasts or 3 fasts.
6 fasts.
Six. Okay.
6, because if they whatever the simple equation is number of fasts you're missing and you're not keeping, multiply by the kafara. That's it.
Okay.
So that's the rule. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a equation that comes in. If someone remains ill for few years, remember the masala that we said that if someone is ill and they can't keep fast, then they have to give 1 mud of food, right? But if someone remain ill for a few years and then they recover, so when they recover, then they also have to keep the qada fast too, right? So they already give kafara. Remember, we already talk about someone who's really ill or who can't keep the curse or who is really ill. They just have to give 1 mud of food. But if they recover from it, then in that case, they also have to keep the qada fast too, right? Now coming to the haram and makruh fast. The mustahab fast, alhamdulillah, we go to different centers, and if we go through mafatih, there are a lot of mustahab fasts for 15th of Sha'ban, for 27th of Rajab, for 17th of Rabiul Awwal, for 18th of Dhul Hajjah, for different other time. These are all mustahab and recommended fasts. But for our learning, we'll be just going through haram and makruh fasts. There are only a few days when it is haram for us to fast, which are Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. It is haram for us to fast on those two Eid. What is the third day? The third day is when you are unsure if that's the last day of Ramadan or is the last day of Sha'ban or the first day of Ramadan. That specific day is called Yawm al-Shak. Imagine if we didn't get the news of moon sighting. If the moon is sighted or if the moon is not sighted. We didn't get the news. And we are unsure if that's the 30th of Sha'ban or the 1st of Ramadan. So to fast on that specific day with the intention of fasting for the first day of Ramadan is haram. But if you're fasting it thinking that is the 30th day of Sha'ban, then it's completely fine, right? So fasting itself is not haram. It becomes haram if you have the wrong intention. So you can keep that fast as the first day of Ramadan. That's called Yawm al-Shak. Yawm al-Shak masala is difficult. Sometimes people miss it and they take it as the first day of Ramadan without realizing that that's not the first day of Ramadan unless Shar'an is proven for you that's the first day of Ramadan, right? But let's suppose you're doing it for the 30th of Sha'ban and during the day you come across the news that it's the first day of Ramadan, that you will just change the niyat from the 30th of Sha'ban to the 1st of Ramadan, okay? Which is the what is the third thing? Children, when observing their fast, that will cause suffering to their parents. Now, this question is for the mustahab only. let's suppose if I'm really fond of doing mustahab fast, but that actually makes my parents feel bad for me, and they would be like, why is he keeping so many fasts? He's a really weak lad, he's a really weak person, and that child is not, he can bear fasting for these number of days. So if it causes adiyat, if it causes suffering to my parents, and the suffering is not for non-religious purpose, the suffering is because of their love for their child. So for that child to do the mustahab fast is haram. Imagine how many rights parents have on you, right? So you can't make your parents suffer by keeping a keeping a mustahab fast if it actually causes suffering to them. But for the wajib, for let's suppose for the month of Ramadan, someone is baligh, someone is 15 years old, and now they're keeping the fast, and their parents are, even though it's causing suffering to them, in that time you just have to keep the fast. You can't leave the fast even if it causes suffering to your parents. Why? Because there you're doing the wajib thing, right? But if you're doing mustahab and it causes disease to your parent, then you can't. Okay. What is the fourth? When it's injurious to your health. If my doctor has said, and if I know personally too, if I will keep fasting, it will be really dangerous for my health, then it is haram for me to keep fast. And if someone, look, Fuqaha has gone to the next level. They would say if someone keeps a fast, knowing that fasting will cause harm to him, and then that specific day of fasting won't be counted as a day of fast for him. He has to keep a qada of it too. So imagine, if doctor has said for you not to fast, you can keep fast. So there was it's makruh for us to keep fast. The first is day of Ashura, the 10th day of Muharram, when Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and his blessed companions were killed. That day I won't fast, but I would just do the faqa till Asr. And at Asr time, I'll break my faqa. We call that faqa shikni, right? So no one is supposed to fast throughout the day. If someone does it, it's not haram, but it is highly disliked. And the sixth day is if someone is unsure if this is the day of Arafah, like 9th of Dhul Hajj, or if it's the day of Eid, which is 10th of Dhul Hajj. Because remember, keeping the fast on the 10th of Dhul Hajj is haram, as we have already figured out. But if someone is doubtful if that's the day of Arafah or the day of Eid al-Adha, he should better refrain from fasting. He shouldn't fast at that time. And this ends our presentation. Remember the difference between the haram and makruh. Haram is impermissible, makruh is disliked. So even if someone does it, then it is not haram for him to do, but is disliked by fiqh. And this ends our discussion. Alhamdulillah for fasting and their rulings. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. If someone has questions, then please ask me the question.
I got one question. While I was preparing for the quiz, I came across a ruling where it says if I am 100% confident that there is no harm to my health, but doctor said that it will be harmful. So the ruling says that I have to fast on that day. So can you just explain it, please?
That's right. 100%. Your own personal conviction is the most important thing. See, doctors are there. Yeah, doctors will always be saying to you, oh, don't fast. Fasting is not good, because they will be going for the highest precaution. But if you know deep within yourself, look, I will be home throughout the day, and I won't be going here and there, so I can keep fast. It should be fine. Then shar'an, you have to keep your fast that day.
Okay. In ibadat, makruh means reduce sawab, or what exactly that means, like makruh?
It's a good question. So within the context of ibadah, when we say ibadah, it means decrease sawab, right? It's a wonderful question. I'm glad that someone brought this question. Let's suppose if it's makruh for a person who is in a certain state to read the ayahs of Quran more than 7. So for that person to read more than 7 ayat, it would just mean that there will be decrease in thawab, right? That's specifically for the things that are within the ibadah. But outside the ibadah, makruh means something which is disliked. So that's a good push for that's a good point someone brought in. And within our context, I think we should refrain, and I'm sorry that I used it, we should refrain from using the word disliked as if like something which is makruh in another way. Here, it simply means that you will have decrease in thawab. Thank you for bringing this question. It's a really good question.
Okay, so I don't have any other questions, so we can take a break at this point, or maybe like you can take a break at this point. And in the meantime, the participants, I will give you the quiz link on the Telegram and Zoom chat. And it is right now almost it's 4:55, so we'll reconvene at 5:15 after 20 minutes.
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go to the like we told about the masala. There are two rulings before dhuhr and after dhuhr. If it is after dhuhr, then you have to complete the fast, and if it's before dhuhr, you can break it after you reach Hadd al-Tarakhus. On 12th Ramadan, I took an early morning flight from Toronto to Montreal, and I intended to stay in Montreal for 2 weeks. I landed in Montreal before dhuhr. What is my obligation for 12 Ramadan fast? If I have not committed an act which invalidates the fast, then I should fast on 12th of Ramadan, which is right. Um, in case, because I'm staying there for more than 10 days, so technically I'm not traveler as per the fifth. Moreover, if I am in the city before Dhuhr, and if I haven't done anything that invalidates the fast, then I have to do it and complete the fast throughout the day. Question number 3. I was coming back from a trip to my hometown. I started my journey on the night of 30th Sha'ban, and I'm supposed to reach home in afternoon of 1st of Ramadan. What is my obligation for first Ramadan fast? I'm supposed to reach, yeah. So again, since you are a traveler, so you can keep the fast when you are a traveler, you should treat yourself as a traveler. It is haram for me to fast when I'm traveling. In case if I reach after Dhuhr, right, and if I haven't done any action, even then, I'm not supposed to fast like my fast would not be valid for the day, right? But if I come before Dhuhr, then the same masla would be applied that was told before. Mujtahid is 80 years old. Which of the following is the correct ruling for fasting Ramadan? Fasting is not obligatory if he cannot fast because of his old age. We went through the masala, and he has to give 1 mud of food for that. Question number 5. Khadija is young and has all intentions to fast in Ramadan. However, fasting will cause her extra difficulty is religious obligation the case. She should not fast, obviously, because if something is causing her immense pain or and difficulty, she's not supposed to fast, and must give one food to poor or to a poor person. Remember the masala, and even this applies for people that are doing job and that are young. My internet is getting disconnected in between. The Prophet, what is the validity of his fast and what is the obligation? Um, his fast is invalid, obviously, because quoting anything wrong to any prophet or masum makes your fast void, and he must do the qada, and as a recommended precaution, do the kafara as well. Um, Next question number 7. Can we go through the question? Can we go through the screen? Question number 7.
Yes, I am on question number 7.
Yeah, which of the following is an acceptable form of kafara for breaking a fast intentionally? Check that all that applies. So fasting for 2 months and feeding 64 poor people to their fill, and work as a slave for 2 months. Obviously, you can work as a slave, but in case, let's suppose, hypothetically thinking that there would be slaves still living around us, then we won't be working as a slave, but we would be freeing a slave is the right answer. So after the death of a person, his qada fast on the basis of obligatory precaution should be observed by the eldest son. Now, this is the masala, and I think this is the masala that I would like to elaborate further. This is from Ayatullah Sistani's book, and the book is Minhaj al-Salihin. In Minhaj, Ayatullah Sistani say, "الأحوط وجوبا لولي الميت وهو الولد الذكر الأكبر حال الموت." So Ayatollah Sistani says that the eldest son is the person that when the person dies, whosoever remains within his son and daughter to be the eldest would be counted, like not um, daughters. Among the son, whoever is the eldest is said to be the eldest son. So let's suppose a person has three kids. One of them was Hassan, second Hussein, third was Muhsin. Hassan died during father's life. After the death of the father, father left two sons now. Hassan has already died during the age Hussein and Muhsin are left. Since Hussein is the eldest of both at the time, now it should be fine, inshallah. Now the question is, since Hussein was the eldest son at the time of the death of the father, so Hussein is responsible for both prayers and fasting. So that's the masala we should keep in our mind. The eldest son, when the father, um, during the time of father's death, whosoever will be the eldest son will be responsible for the thing. There are some scholars that have said that it is ihtiyati wajib, not Ayatullah Sistani, so I don't want to make it difficult, but there are some scholars and marajir that have said even to keep the fast and the prayers for the mother too. There are some marajir that have said ihtiyati wajib, and Ayatullah Muhsin al-Hakim, if I'm not wrong, he has even said that it is not only wajib upon the eldest son, everyone in the family has a liability to do some action. It's like wajibul kifaya in every one of them. So if someone stands up and takes care of the whole fasting and also prayers, then it takes the burden off from everyone, right? So just wanted to give some diverse opinion on it because there are different scholars with different saying, but the mashhur marajir, contemporary scholars, their ruling is generally that you only the eldest son who is at the time of death is responsible to take care of the father only. Let's go to question number 9. A person was able to fast in Ramadan due to illness for several years. Was not able to fast in Ramadan due to illness for several years. What is the obligation after after being cured? So he should observe the qada fast of the last Ramadan, and for each day of the earlier year, he should give one mud of food to the poor person. Which of the following days condition it is haram to fast? Check all that applies. So when is it? So Yom Shak. It is haram for us to fast on the Yom Shak, as was explained. Also for a woman, it is important if she is supposed to do her mustahab fast. She's supposed to make sure that whatever rights that her husband has on her, that shouldn't be compromised. So if that is compromised because she is keeping fast in Ramadan, outside Ramadan, then in that way she can't go forward. She must make sure that her husband is fine when she is fasting. Question number 11. If a person delays observing qada fast for the month of Ramadan for few years, what is the obligation? So he should obviously do the qada, and every day when he is not able to do, he should give one mud of food for each day. But as more years would come across, that kafara won't be multiplied. And that was being already communicated before. So you only have to give one kafara, even if it's delayed for like 20 years or 15 years, doesn't matter. On which of the following days condition it is makruh to fast? Check that all applies. So on the day of Ashura, and when we have confusion between Arafah and Eid al-Adha. Let's go to the next question. Question number 13. And this is a bonus question. Migration from Mecca to Medina was the second migration in Islam. The two small groups of Muslims migrated to another place before, which is called migration Islam. Which place was that? So they went to Habasha. So the first migration that took place before Medina was the one in Habasha, in which Hadrat Ja'far bin Abi Talib, Ja'far al-Tayyar alayhi salatu wasalam, was leading the Muslim caravan, and they went to Ethiopia. And in Ethiopia, in Habasha, the leader of that time was Najashi. Um, yeah, so migration from Mecca to Medina was secondary to, yeah. So it was Abyssinia, Habasha, which we call, and present day Ethiopia, and Najashi was the emperor then. Bintul Huda was the sister of Ayatullah Bakr al-Sadr and was martyred along with her brother by Saddam Hussein of Iraq. What is the first name of Bintul Huda? So her name was Amina. Amina Bintul Huda, right? Are we done with the questions now?
Yes, the questions are.
Yeah. So what just wanted to, because I got this question from someone too regarding the masala of who would be the eldest son, and I think that was a question that was posted too. So eldest son is obviously the eldest son who is at the time of death would be the eldest son, and some of the scholars they have said even like women like the daughter might have to do that too, but it is not wajib. And finally, if the eldest son didn't do the responsibility and he died after the death of his father, then it is not wajib upon all the children to take care of the fasting and prayers. Inshallah. Is there any other question from anyone?
No, I haven't received any other questions.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. Inshallah, that ends the
Okay.
discussion here.
Thank you so much, everyone. Inshallah, we will connect next Saturday, 4 p.m. And during the week, I will send the slides with the ruling numbers we will be covering in the next session. So, inshallah, you can go through and prepare for the quiz. Thank you for the